Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Navigating Possibility. I'm Dr. Christina Adams, physician coach for women doctors who are trying to stay human inside systems that don't always remember that we are. And speaking of staying human, I am recording this episode in late December, and I caught the Christmas time cold that was traveling around to my family when we all gathered at Christmas time. So please forgive me if my voice sounds a little more froggy than usual. I hope I'm able to edit out any coughs or sneezes that I need to let out while I'm doing this podcast episode. My voice will be back to normal soon. So, today, what I'd like to talk about is something that sounds benign, maybe even responsible, but is actually quietly devastating to our nervous systems: reading online reviews. If you've ever opened Google or Healthgrades or Yelp and scrolled through what patients think about you, your tone, your wait times, your front desk, your outcomes, and then found yourself dysregulated for the rest of the day, then this episode is for you. So let me paint a picture. You've just finished a full clinic day. You were short-staffed. You squeezed in a couple of emergency visits. You had to tell someone news that will change their life forever. You skipped lunch. You didn't go to the bathroom. You didn't eat. And your child's school just called about a forgotten permission slip or some other issue. And then, maybe out of habit, maybe out of self-punishment, or because someone tells you there's a bad one out there, you open your patient reviews. And there it is. She rushed me. I felt dismissed. I'll never go back. And suddenly, your chest tightens, your shoulders climb up towards your ears, your brain starts scanning your entire career for proof that you are, in fact, a terrible doctor. That's not curiosity. It's not trying to improve. That is shopping for pain. I first heard that description of reading online reviews in an online group for women physicians, and man, is it true. Shopping for pain is when your nervous system goes looking for information that confirms your worst fears. I'm not good enough. I hurt people. I don't belong here. That one mistake defines me. Online reviews are the perfect storm for this behavior because they are decontextualized, anonymous, emotionally charged, and completely disconnected from clinical reality. And we can't respond to them because of federal patient privacy rules. Other organizations, hotels, restaurants, businesses with online reviews get to respond to them. Physicians can't. You never see reviews from the hundreds of patients filling your schedule each week who trust you and send their friends to you. You only see the one person whose disappointment found a keyboard to hide behind. Your brain doesn't register statistical relevance. It registers threat. That review is seen by your brain as danger. And once your brain detects threat, it shuts down logic. Your amygdala is activated, and your brain goes straight into survival mode. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, whatever your usual stress response is, that's where your brain goes. And this hits women physicians harder because, as we've talked about on a previous podcast, women physicians are socialized to equate competence with likability, to make safety something they can only feel if everybody approves of them, and to make our worth dependent on someone else's opinion of ourselves. So when someone doesn't like you, your nervous system doesn't hear, well, that patient was frustrated. It hears, I failed as a human. And add to that gender bias in patient expectations. Patients are statistically more likely to think a female physician is incompetent or uncaring or both. And female physicians have higher emotional labor loads. We get more messages in portals and more messages from our staff members. And then you get to the point where patient reviews aren't feedback, they're identity threats. We make a bad review mean we're not a good doctor. Now, let's talk about one of the most painful categories of reviews: unrealistic expectations about our availability. Patients who complain, "She was on vacation the week of my due date." Let me tell you, from being an obstetrician for 20 years, if I never took a vacation because I had a patient who had a due date that week, I would never take a vacation. Another one that I've seen is, "She was out sick and had to reschedule my surgery or appointment." We're human beings who get sick. The one that I remember that really ticked me off when I saw it was, the office had to cancel my appointment because she had to go to a funeral. There's an unspoken belief baked into these complaints that physicians should not have human bodies that get sick, or families who need their presence. They shouldn't be allowed to grieve the loss of a loved one, need a day to attend a funeral. But here's the truth: we're allowed to be human. Your vacation isn't patient abandonment. The patient will be well cared for by your partners or by whoever's covering your practice. Your illness isn't negligence. Your absence for a funeral is not betrayal of a patient. And yet, online reviews often treat your humanity as a personal failure. Now, let's talk about another category of online reviews: TikTok or influencer-driven medicine. So, how many of you have seen reviews that say things like, "She wouldn't order that test I came in asking for," or "I saw this on TikTok and she refused to order it for me," or "My friend's doctor ordered it for her and I've got the same thing going on with me, so why wouldn't she order that for me?" We are now practicing medicine inside the social media algorithm. I have nothing against educated patients, and there are some great online resources for patients to educate themselves on their conditions. But when patients come in with screenshots of the list of tests they want me to order, or they insist on influencer-driven protocols that aren't based in the standard of care, and we don't comply with their demands, and then they go find a place to review us online, in those reviews, we're labeled as dismissive, outdated, or uncaring. So here's the truth I want you to hear: you're allowed to exercise clinical judgment. You don't owe anyone a test that isn't indicated. You don't owe anyone treatment that is unsafe. And you do not owe anyone agreement when their request conflicts with your training. You are permitted, in fact, you are ethically required to use your clinical judgment. Just as patients have the right to informed refusal of your recommendations, you also have the right to refuse to prescribe care that you do not feel is appropriate. Being a good doctor does not mean that you're a vending machine. That sort of medicine is not good for anybody. Now let's talk about something even harder: organizations that employ you and insist on giving you copies of reviews or talking about them in meetings so you can't avoid them. Or, worse still, organizations who insist on tying your pay or bonuses to reviews, which is gender biased, since women have been shown in studies to get worse reviews than their male peers. What do you do when you can't help but read your reviews, even when you'd rather not? Here's the distinction that matters, and a boundary that I'm going to suggest that you set in that situation. Managers are responsible for business and workflow issues. Clinicians are responsible for patient care. So if the feedback in a review is about front desk behavior, portal glitches, phone wait times, insurance copays or deductibles that patients have to pay for problems that they raised during their annual wellness visit, those are system issues. They should not be placed on the physician's emotional plate. You can advocate for this boundary. You can say something like, I'm open to feedback about my clinical care, but reviews related to billing, technology, staffing, or access need to be filtered and handled by leadership. This isn't defensiveness, it's appropriate role clarity. We tell ourselves, or more likely our institutions tell us, I'm just trying to get better, or I'm just trying to make things better. I should read reviews for ideas on how to improve. But tell me the truth. When you read reviews, are you actually extracting usable data, or are you ruminating, replaying interactions, and attacking yourself with thoughts that you would never speak out loud to a friend? If reading your reviews leaves you distracted, tearful, angry, or doubting your future in medicine, that's not growth. It's not improvement. The practice of reading your reviews in that case is actively harming your well-being. And we need to stop doing things that are the emotional equivalent of punching ourselves in the face. Here's a rule I teach my clients. If reviews must exist in your life, they need boundaries. Never consume unfiltered feedback when you're already depleted. Read them during protected time, not at the end of a clinic day. Let a trusted staff member, back office or front office manager, for instance, summarize themes rather than you reading specific nastiness aimed at you. And decide in advance what constitutes actionable data. Your nervous system is not designed to metabolize anonymous judgment at 7 p.m. after a 12-hour shift. So before we end today, I want to offer you a question for reflection. Not for fixing, not for problem solving, just for noticing. What do you believe about yourself that makes reading reviews feel necessary? What do you believe about yourself that makes reading reviews feel necessary? And one more. What would it feel like to trust yourself to know your needs and trust your clinical judgment more than an online comment section? Sit with that. And remember, you are not the sum of your Google stars. You're a skilled, thoughtful human physician doing hard work in an imperfect system within a loud, distorted world. And you deserve more than pain that you didn't even need to shop for. So if this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. And if you're ready to stop carrying this kind of invisible weight alone and want to talk things over with a fellow physician who gets it, you can find me at my website, which is ChristinaAdamsMD.com. I'm always happy to have a conversation about how coaching can help shift your mindset around issues like this. Until next time, take gentle care of yourself and speak to yourself about this issue the way you'd speak to a friend. Our inner voice is the most common thing we hear. We deserve for that voice to be kind.